Hi everybody and welcome to another edition of TEMA TALK. I'm your host Carl Gibbons, founder of Third Eye Management and Associates. Joining us today is Rob Anstett CPA. Rob is a Naples-based CPA, and the vast majority of his clients are small, mid-market based companies. And welcome, Rob. Good to you to spare some time. I know it's chaos for you right now, right?
Yeah, very much so. Thank you for having me, Carl. But yeah, it's, we have tax season, which even though we got spread out till July 15th, I've got a lot of clients that hopefully will be heading north sometime in April or early May once things open.
Right.
And obviously, on top of that, we have everything going on with the CARES Act, the PPP loans. It's very chaotic. And yes.
Okay. So that's the top of there's not an entrepreneur and business owner out there at the moment that the CARES Act is not the top of their list. So let's dive straight into it and let's get on with it. Let's see if we can weave our way through all of this stuff. I personally want to start off by saying that I think Uncle Sam has stepped up to the plate. He's done a good job. He seems to be wanting to try and take care of everybody, but because it's such a vast undertaking, the amount of time that he's had to do it has obviously left some huge holes in the road, right? And as fast as they're filling those holes in, another hole is opening up. What's your take?
Okay, so let me just hit up some of the basics. So there's two parts on the business end of stuff.
Right.
There's a small business loan, which the banks are administrating, that, low interest rate, but you have to pay it back, okay? Some businesses are doing that, but most of them are focusing on the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program.
Right.
So basically, what this is whatever your salary is, monthly salary, they'll take whatever that is, multiply by 2.5 times, and I'm being simplistic here.
Yeah.
And then whatever that comes out to, you would get as a loan that, as long as it's used for payroll, is going to be forgiven. And 25% of it can be used for rents and other bills, but the majority has to be used for payroll. So it's essentially free money. So when I say it's free money, there's some ethical dilemmas out there that there's a lot of people that don't need this free money. And I have a couple clients that don't need this free money that may make $1 million a year. And because they're doing payroll and this is out there, they're going for their, let's see, what would it be? I think they're getting about $30,000 for free, that they're going to cut themselves a check right away as payroll, and boom, forgiven.
Okay.
So, and you know what? It's for every business, essentially. Okay. Now there's some caveats. If you want me to hit into some of the specifics, I'll just go through it fairly quickly. So let's pretend you are a S corporation. Your main entity is an S corp.
Yeah.
The only way you qualify, the only way you qualify for this is if you had your S corp pay you a salary. So it doesn't matter if you're taking distributions, those don't count. You had to have your S corp actually pay you a salary. Now it's limited to 100,000. So the max for any one employee would be 100,000 divided by 2, multiplied by 2.5. That would be, the max loan for one person.
Right.
Now, this is out there for companies with 500 or less employees.
Right.
So let's say you had 499 employees, all making $100,000 or more than 100, but the max is 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
You could do the math. This is a lot of money.
Yep.
So that's on S corp. So for an S corp, the only way it works is if the owner or whether the owner took a salary or whether the owner had employees and paid their employees, they would qualify for this.
Okay.
Now, for independent contractors, basically what they're going to be looking for, this is 1099 individuals who never set up a formal entity, or maybe they're a single member LLC where they're picking up all their activity on their Schedule C of their 1040. They have to provide a Schedule C for 2019. Whereas the S corporations don't actually have to have a 2019 tax return. They just have to have payroll history from 2019. So independent contractors, 1099, again, they have to have a Schedule C. What they would do is take the net income divided by 12, multiplied by 2.5, and that's going to be their number. Partnerships are quite unique. Owners of a partnership do not pay salary to themselves, but their K1 is subject to self-employment tax. So whatever their net income is on their partnership would qualify for the PPP. So again, take it divided by 12, multiplied by 2.5 or 2.5 times gets you to your PPP loan. And then again, if you use it for, wages, rent, it's going to be forgiven. I think that basically covers the entities there. Now on the PPP and the other one, as I mentioned earlier, only banks are giving out the money. So herein lies the biggest problem. We have a couple problems. One, Wells Fargo, because of shenanigans they did, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I believe it was,
right,
they are limited to 10 billion in PPP loans. Well, Bank of America hit 30 billion in one day. So,
right.
Wells Fargo's max. So if you bank with Wells Fargo and you're trying to do the PPP, I'm sorry, it's going to be a tough road unless the government bails them out and allows them to do more loans, but it doesn't sound like they will. So
Question.
Yes.
What about if Wells Fargo is your normal bank, could you go to another bank to process this PPP application?
Absolutely. Now, I will tell you this. I've talked, and I will not mention any bank names, but to two bankers, three. One bank is actually taking on new customers who will set up a checking account and will process the PPP. The other two say they will, but they're taking all their clients first, and until they're done with all their clients.
Right. Well, and that's fair. That's fair, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it is what it is.
Right.
So, again, the banks are lending the money. Now, following back up with that. So let's say you're, again, an S corporation. You give them your 941s, your W-2s, some payroll reports. It's been filed with the IRS. The banks are going to, sign off. Okay, this is all good. Now, let's say you're an independent contractor, the Schedule C person. Well, it's a little more complicated because the government hasn't said the banks aren't somewhat liable, and they still have to underwrite everything. So now if you're self-employed, one, that tax return has to be, with the IRS, has been accepted so they can run some transcripts. Because they have to verify that you actually filed what you're saying. So for the independent contractors, which that doesn't start until April 10, it could be a little more cumbersome of actually getting it through because of all the underwriting, where the S Corps, payroll, call it a day, pretty easy to verify. So things could get a little messy next week.
Okay. And there's other stuff out there. What about this economic injury disaster loan and loan advance? What's that all about?
Okay, so again, there was a couple other loans that the government put into the CARES Act, which they're not going to be forgiven as far as I'm aware. They're just, basically small business loans, help you out, here's some money. You have to go through the underwriting process. I have one or two clients doing that right now, and they are looking at tax returns. They're looking at financials. They're looking at the January and February financials because essentially they're trying to, they have to underwrite it like most loans, where the PPP, the underwriting is a little more loose, except for, the independent contractors. Like I said, I think that's going to be a hiccup next week.
Okay. What about business tax changes? There seems to be stuff going on there as well.
Yeah, there is quite a few. So let's say you did not get the PPP and you are still paying your employees. If your income for, I believe, it's either 1 quarter or 2 quarters. I don't know that off the top of my head. Reduced by 50%. So they would look at, let's say, March 1st of 19 through, July 1st of 19. And then they'd compare that to, 2020, the same time period. If your revenues decreased by 50%, 50% of your payroll would be a credit. So companies that, especially sole proprietor or like single member, or not single member LLCs, but S Corps with one owner, it would, even if you're not making money and you didn't do the PPP, it would make sense to try to keep paying yourself payroll, because then half of your payroll could be free and a tax credit that would be taken on your Form 941 payroll tax return. So that is one of them. Now, one other little caveat, which I should have touched base with PPP earlier. If you're claiming unemployment, you can't do the PPP.
Okay.
So if you're, the owner of the S Corp and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm laying myself off, no PPP for you.
Okay.
So it's kind of one or the other.
Okay.
Let's see here. They're allowing, again, 5-year carrybacks on net operating losses. So if you file your 19 return and you had a loss, you could go back and, actually, let's see, you can go back. If the loss incurred after 17, you can go back up to 5 years to get a refund and amend prior year tax returns. They got rid of this back in the tax reform of 2018. And obviously they just put it back in so people can go back, amend old returns and get more cash in their pocket. Let's see here.
What about SBA? Okay, go on.
I was going to say, I got one of my biggest, which actually affects one of my clients. He will probably get a refund of at least $100,000 on this. He outfitted a shopping center building to do for his business. He outfitted it. And those are leasehold improvements. Well, when tax reform came in 2018, they had a glitch in the writing that said leasehold improvements are now 39-year property and not 15-year property. So the big glitch there in 18 is, prior to that, 15-year property could be written off in one swoop. Now you had to depreciate it over 39 years. So they retroactively fixed that. So now I will be going back amending his 18 return and he'll get, 100, 200,000 back because we took it over 39 years and now I'm going to take it all at once.
Okay.
So that was another gigantic change.
Okay.
SBA
debt relief. Go ahead, SBA debt relief. What's happening there?
The SBA debt relief. Again, I know the PPP is the main debt relief.
Okay.
Where, if you take care of that, it's gone, relieved. The other loans are not, to the best of my knowledge, going to be relieved.
Okay. What about the express bridge loans, SBA express bridge loans? Any news on that?
Same thing. Same thing. Lower interest rate, not going to be relieved.
Okay. So for the vast majority of people that are watching this program, Rob, they're all small mid-market businesses, and some of them, just like me, single shingle warriors. What's your advice now? What's your best advice?
Obviously, if you qualify for the PPP, you have to do it.
Right.
Again, I was telling you earlier, I know some people that are doing it that don't need the money, but you know what? They're giving it out. And
right.
I think I heard Mnuchin went back yesterday and he's working on another $200 billion from Congress.
Right.
So that would jump it up to over $500 billion
right.
of essentially free money that they're giving out.
Right.
And again, you got your ethical considerations there, and but it is what it is. They're giving it out. People are going to take it.
Right. Okay. There's a lot of talk going on about, if you like, where you are in line. Just like get your application in now and sort of worry about it later, sort of thing. To just get that application. Do you hold with that thought?
They're going to run out of money. I haven't heard where they are now because I know there's been a lot of glitches and the process with the banks and the SBA. But I know, like I said, Bank of America on day one last Friday did, I think, 30 or 35 billion in applications. So if you average that, let's say they do another 30 every single day, the 350 is going to go pretty quick.
Right.
So they're going to have to go back, especially if they really do want to provide this for the 1099 subcontractors. The one that I said starts on April 10th. They're going to need more money.
Right.
Everyone else,
Right.
So basically, let's put it this way. Get it in before April 10th, because come April 10th, that's when the forms get released for all the contractors. And I guarantee you they are going to be funneling them in as fast as they can, because they know everyone else is already ahead of them.
Right. Right. Okay. That sort of, that makes it makes sense.
Yeah.
When do you think with the actual payouts will start? When do you think people will start receiving checks?
Believe it or not, I had a client in the other day who was has a golf course up in Massachusetts, and they got their money already.
Really?
From PPP.
Okay.
And they did use Bank of America. Okay. And I'm not promoting Bank of America.
No, I understand. It just,
I'm a local bank kind of guy.
Right.
But, obviously all the information on CNBC and everywhere else is Bank of America, because they got people promoting it and talking about it. So most of my knowledge is based on them. Okay.
What about if somebody inadvertently applies for the wrong one? Oh, I did. I applied for the disaster assistance, the economic injury disaster loan, and I should have gone for PPP, or vice versa. I mean,
yeah.
What happens if that happens?
I would be very upset at the banker. The bankers, like I said, I've talked to 3. They know this better than I do right now, because they had to. I would be shocked if that occurs, that they got misled into the wrong loan. The only way I could see that happening, again, which I don't think would be if some loans are more profitable for the banks compared to others. But I'd hate to think that they would do that.
Okay. But some people, you can fill out the application direct online. It'll go straight through. You don't even have to go to a bank.
That is only, there's one loan on purely the SBA that you can do that and submit. All other loans are done through banks.
Okay.
So only the Small Business Administration came out with a temporary relief loan. Okay. I think maybe even like 4 to 5% interest rate. Again, most of my knowledge is all on the PPP, because that's what all my clients are doing.
Right. I understand. What's Rob's take on the other side of the fence? What do you think the business world is going to look like for the small and mid-market business when we come out the other side of this, Rob?
Oh, Carl, I'm very fearful. I walk into Costco last week. I had to get paper for my business, and I get it from Costco. People are acting different, and for all good purposes. I don't know if you can turn a switch on that, and that's scary. So, I don't think any depression by any means, but this is not ideal for Main Street by any means. Right. I think it could be, fourth quarter, hopefully. And then again, if we don't have a vaccine or some type of cure or something, what's the fourth and first quarter of next year going to look like? Are we doing all this again? I don't think we can do all this again. If that happens, then, it's going to be real bad. So hopefully that doesn't happen. We really need the bright people to come up with some stuff.
So you're looking for the uptick to start Q4, basically.
To back to the norm where people are holiday shopping. I'm hoping, the president may have led on that maybe, we start, spring training's going to start, or, football summer and all that stuff. It would be nice to think that, things will get back to normal, or at least start to. But the whole social distancing, which I think is, well needed right now, it might take a while to get, out of our system. I don't know when the next time I'm going to do a handshake, do a business deal on a handshake.
Yeah.
It's crazy. What are you going to do? Fist bump now?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Let's elbow bump on it, right? As opposed to let's shake on it. I hear you.
Yeah. And, I was listening this morning on CNBC and they were talking about mergers and acquisitions. And as they were saying, even as great as this technology, Zoom, we're using right now, business deals, when is that going to happen? Right. You're going to sit down in a boardroom, talk about figure out business deals. It's just very unique.
Right.
So I don't know. Would you like me to touch base on any of the individual items from the CARES Act?
If there's something that you think we should know, let's hear about it, man. That's why we got you here.
Okay. Yeah. So just a couple, because this is affected, or I've received quite a few questions. So obviously you heard about this $1,200 for every person if you make under 75 grand, yeah. $2,400 if you make under 150 jointly if you're married and all that.
Yeah.
So in order to get these, unless you were just on Social Security and didn't have to file a tax return, you'd have to file a tax return. So now let's say there's some people who have been delinquent out there and haven't filed a return.
Right.
They don't necessarily lose it. What they need to do is catch up. And then when they file their 2020 return, which obviously is a year from now, the credit, the recovery rebate is actually going to be a tax credit on the return that will reduce taxes for those people.
Okay.
So, or let's say their 2019 return, they had 175 adjusted gross income or 200,000 and did not get a credit. But 2020 was a bad year. The credit's based on 2020, so they could get that tax credit in 2020 to help them out. So next year's tax filing will be quite unique with that credit, but it's not gone if you didn't get it this year.
Okay.
A couple other things, if you're taking money out of your IRA, which obviously we rarely ever recommend, they're waiving the 10% penalty. They're also giving you more time to actually pay it back so you can not pick it up as income. They're giving you $300. If you give $300 to a charity next year, it's above the line deduction, which means it's not going to be an itemized deduction. I mean, it's only $300, but it's something. Let's see, there's one more I wanted. Oh, one of the biggest ones for my clients over the age of 70 and a half, or actually 72 now, they do not have to take a required minimum distribution from their 401k or IRA, which is fantastic. Theoretically, they can leave it in their IRA. Hopefully the stock market rebounds and they can get some of what they lost back. So that is another one of the big ones.
So thanks for all that. What would be the best piece of advice you can give now to any business owner that's watching this and that's like in doubt? Call their CPA, just go online and read stuff off. What would you advise them to do?
First and foremost is get in touch with their bank so they can start the PPP as long as they qualify, and then fill that out. And then obviously if they need other loans, talk to their banker. As you know, the banks, from what I've been told, are fluid right now. It's not like the financial crisis of 2008, where the banks just didn't have any money. They have the money, they're lending it. Talk to your banker. If you don't have a banker, that makes things a little more difficult. You can talk to your CPA, but we're only as good as, whatever the applications from the banks are. So we can't do anything without the bank applications. So definitely get in touch with your personal banker or business banker.
Okay. All right, Rob. Great insights. We appreciate it. Thanks very much. We're coming to the last little bit of the show. And whilst we've had a very proper and serious conversation, let's end on with something a little bit lighter. All right. So let's find out a little bit about Rob. Does Rob want to be in control or in charge?
Control.
All right. Okay. Favorite song or tune when you want to get all hyped up?
Geez. How about just a band? I have a Rage Against the Machine list for whenever I'm trying to work out, which is not often.
All right. Favorite cocktail?
Bourbon and maybe Diet Coke.
Okay.
Or just bourbon.
Okay. Favorite quote?
Favorite quote? You know, the only one I'm thinking about right now is your quote. Was it "Quit and get rich"?
I love it. I love it. What frightens Rob the most? What's Rob afraid of?
Well, right now, definitely my immediate family and their healthiness.
Okay. Rob's least favorite business word and your most favorite business word.
Least favorite business word? Bankrupt.
Okay.
Most favorite, probably, the opposite. They're doing good, successful.
Okay. All right. Own or lease?
Okay, well, that's a great question. For vehicles, I have both. My office I lease right now, but I'm hoping to purchase. So I'm all over the board with that.
All right. Okay. What profession other than your own? If you weren't a CPA, what else would you like to be? What would you like to attempt?
That one actually, I tried it. It didn't work. Being a golf professional.
Okay.
So tried it. Just lost a lot of money.
I hear you. Are you going to spend your money investing or traveling?
Well, I would love to travel, and we were hoping to go to Ireland in May. That's not happening. Right now, I am picking solid companies for investing.
Okay.
Yep.
Your idea of heaven?
My idea of heaven would probably be golfing.
Okay. All right. So last one. If this program could connect you with any one person, if you hope there's one person watching this program and it can connect you to them, it doesn't matter who it is, where they are, what they do, who would it be?
It would be the small business owner that hasn't, which would be surprising, hasn't heard of the PPP, and they can call their banker up, get this free money before it goes away, because it will help them and it's out there.
Great.
So that's the person I hope I reached.
Lovely. That's great. Rob, thanks very much for your time. Thanks very much for taking part. That's it, guys. Another 30 minutes of business banter and badinage has just flown by. Thanks to our guest again, Rob Anstett, CPA. Rob, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they contact you? How do they reach you?
So my email is rob@Anstett CPA. You can look us up online, of course, and phone number is 239-435-3536. Thanks, Carl.
Give them the number again.
239-435-3536.
There you go. Thanks to Guerilla Media for working their magic to make this happen. And of course, thank you to you for tuning in and watching. So until the next time, I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay happy. And of course, I want you to stay profitable. And with that, we're out. Thanks very much, everybody.